Let me start with this, the most obvious. Do you believe that we have the proper suspect in custody? Do you believe that Tyler Robinson is, in fact, the man who killed Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
Do you believe he acted with the help of anyone else?
Like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell to get notifications anytime I go live or make a video. Make sure you subscribe to The Officer Tatum Show and The Officer Tatum channel. And message me if you want to ask me a question at Brandon@freedomchat.com. That's Brandon@freedomchat.com. Let's get into this. All right, y'all, roll the clip.
Let me start with this, the most obvious. Do you believe that we have the proper suspect in custody? Do you believe that Tyler Robinson is, in fact, the man who killed Charlie Kirk?
Yes.
Do you believe he acted with the help of anyone else?
This investigation is being led by the Utah state authorities because it is a murder investigation. So the FBI is a supporting role in the investigative process. And so what we're doing is the same thing we did in the pipe bomb investigation. The investigation is ongoing for us. If there's any new leads or tips, we are exhausting them with search warrants and legal process. But at the same time, we are working with the prosecutors in Utah to make sure we don't screw up their investigation. Because again, the worst outcome would be if the guy that killed Charlie Kirk walks out of a United States courtroom in the state of Utah. And so it's a delicate balance again, but there is no way this FBI is going to stop that investigation until it reaches its all-conclusive endpoint.
Do you believe any foreign government had a role in his assassination?
At this time, the FBI doesn't have credible information to connect any foreign governments to it. But as I said, we are continuing to take investigative leads. We're not done. Just because we arrest someone, just like in the pipe bomber case, we don't just say, okay, we're done, on to the next. The investigative team continues to work with the Utah authorities, and they're deriving their own leads and coming back to us and say, hey, can you look at this piece of information? Can we get a search warrant on this account? What about this individual who is located in X, Y, or Z? We're tracking all that down.
Do you have any credible reason to believe that anyone
Hold on, before she asks that
with
question, I want to clear this up real quick. If you notice that he said the local government is investigating a murder, and then they refer to the FBI. And the reason that they would refer to the FBI to take certain leads is because there's certain federal jurisdiction. So if somebody has a cell phone or there are certain search warrants that the federal government can do that the local government cannot do, right? To tap your cell phone, to tap into social media, that's a federal jurisdictional thing because social media goes across the entire world. So the jurisdiction is not local. The FBI has the ability to get a search warrant and to go through that process and get that information on a broader and major scale. Roll it. Let me tell you something. I believe with all of my heart that every life has value. That's why I proudly stand with Save the Storks. They don't just talk about being pro-life, they live it. They are Life Army, meeting women where they are and showing compassion, truth, and hope before it's too late. Right now, there are 108 mobile medical units or stork buses across the country reaching women before they make a devastating choice or attempt their own abortion. These buses offer ultrasounds, counseling, and real support, giving moms the chance to choose life. But the mission needs you too. We're raising $500,000 to build and place multiple stork buses in Charlie's honor, and each one will be named after Erica Kirk as they travel across the country fighting for life. We need everybody to give generously and to stand up and to be part of something bigger than themselves. And for every gift of $50 or more, you will receive this free Life Army t-shirt. Join me in the Life Army. Together, we can help more moms, save more babies, and change more futures.
Organization had anything to do
and hold on. Her question was that, is any organization like Turning Point USA have anything to do with this? Roll the clip.
His death.
Zero.
On the subject, there's been an allegation made by prominent podcaster Candace Owens that she's received a death threat, a credible death threat from the French, that a threat has been made on her life, and that the French, she's been told, also may have had a role in Charlie's assassination. Have you looked into either of those? Do you believe she's received a credible death threat from the French, or that the French had something potentially to do with Charlie's death?
Any American that receives a death threat from overseas or anywhere in America is going to be fully investigated. So we're not going to turn our eye away from that investigation or any others. If there's anything to it, this FBI will respond to it.
Okay, but so far, no.
So we are just looking at everything that comes in. We're not going to reject any piece of information. If someone feels that their life is being threatened, we are, of course, looking at it.
I can verify that myself because we've received some very dark things here at our show, and you guys have always been very responsive in looking hard at the people who send them. Can I ask you, Kash, the text messages between Tyler Robinson and his roommate Lance Twiggs, the reason a lot of people think Tyler didn't do it is because they sound kind of fake. You know, the wording just sounds a little strange. Like, I thought they caught the person, you know, or no, you weren't the one who did it, right? I am. I'm sorry. They go on from there. Why did I do it? Yeah, I had enough of his hatred, and so on. Do you have any reason to believe that text exchange was not real between them for whatever reason, potentially even having been orchestrated between the two of them?
Look, I understand the emotion behind this case. Charlie was my friend. He was your friend. He was assassinated in the most brutal way in a public forum where he was trying to have engagement with the youth of the United States of America. And while I was representing the White House at Ground Zero in New York City on 9/11, we made the decision to pivot immediately and fly out to Utah to make sure we executed this manhunt. We went out there, the FBI seized the video evidence and put it out to the public immediately. And then this individual was caught in 33 hours. And so I understand that there's so much charged emotion on the other evidence that was collected, the notes that you were talking about, the text message, excuse me. And we present that information to the prosecutors to make the determination based on the evidence we have as to whether or not they were real. I can't stylize or comment on it because it's an ongoing investigation, but I don't believe the prosecutors in the state of Utah would be using any piece of information or evidence that was not credible.
All right, so let me speak to this real quick. The reason that he said that is because they used this evidence to prosecute the killer, Tyler Robinson. They used it in the affidavit. So when you use information in the affidavit to prove your probable cause, that means that your reason for arresting somebody, you will not use something that's fake because you will lose your whole case. They could have left that part out of it. They don't really need that to prosecute Tyler Robinson because they got so much other evidence. So a reasonable prosecutor that is not going to drop the ball on this case, which is the biggest case in Utah history ever, one of the biggest cases in American history, they're not going to use that in the affidavit, sworn testimony that it is true and factual evidence. And this is why Kash Patel is saying that. If they felt that it was iffy, if it was questionable, they would not use it because that would be a fodder. That would be fuel for the fire for the defense team to say, this is fake. And if this is fake, then this could be fake. And if this is fake and they didn't know it was fake, they're not doing a good job at prosecuting. They're trying to rush to judgment and all these other things. Nobody in a right mind would characterize and say that a text message is real and it's inauthentic. They don't need the text messages. When you have testimony from the parents to identify Tyler Robinson as the person on the film who did the crime, you're not going to waste your investigation by putting a questionable note that, do you think the people investigating read that and thought, that sounds totally normal? They scrutinized it. I could put my career on it. They scrutinized it. I was an investigator. These are normal people. They do investigations year round. They're not going to look at something and go, yeah, that sounds really stupid. Let's submit that to the court as evidence and let the defense team tear us apart and lose this entire case. And the person who killed Charlie, which they obviously believe it, and so does Erica Kirk, will walk free because they have evidence that they sworn in the affidavit was not true at all. Your whole case will be questioned. They will present that to the jury, and the jury will question everything you do from that point. And to be honest, that evidence is not really that relevant. It's a sort of a confession, and they don't need it. So that's why Kash said that, and I agree with him. Roll the clip. We got 44 seconds left.
Last but not least on Charlie, there were texts by certain trans individuals online before the assassination talking about something big is going to be happening, and then after he was killed saying, and there it is, leading many of us to wonder whether there was some sort of trans-Tifa connection to the murder, or at least maybe some tip-off to the community. Is that under investigation?
That is most definitely under investigation, and we've disclosed a lot of that to the prosecution, or all of it that we have, and they've made some of it public to include that he was in a relationship with an individual who was part of that community, and that he was engaged in communications with other individuals in that community. But as to how they relate to the prosecution, that's up to the Utah prosecutors to say.
Start the clip over at 44 seconds. Jeff, start the clip over at 44 seconds because something popped on the screen and turned it blue. 44 seconds.
Not credible.
Last but not least on Charlie, there were texts by certain trans individuals online before the assassination talking about something big is going to be happening, and then after he was killed saying, and there it is, leading many of us to wonder whether there was some sort of trans-Tifa connection to the murder, or at least maybe some tip-off to the community. Is that under investigation?
That is most definitely under investigation, and we've disclosed a lot of that to the prosecution, or all of it that we have, and they've made some of it public to include that he was in a relationship with an individual who was part of that community, and that he was engaged in communications with other individuals in that community. But as to how they relate to the prosecution, that's up to the Utah prosecutors to say, we need this in court.
Now, to me, I think this is very telling and revealing. And I do think that what would be a good opportunity is for Kash Patel, which he probably won't do. And I think because if I was an FBI person, I would be very upset with what other people are saying, especially what Candace is saying if I was an FBI agent. However, I think that it would be very interesting if Candace were to invite him onto the show to have a conversation about these things. Let me give you a better thing. I think what would be cool is for Candace to have a former investigator, a former FBI agent whom she trusts, to come on her show and explain the investigatory process, to have a police officer or somebody that works in local law enforcement, especially that either used to work in Utah or work in a similar jurisdiction, to come on and explain how investigations work, the ways that they do and don't work, the misconceptions in the public, and allow her to grill that person on some of the questions that she have so they can provide some clarity. Because the problem with a lot of these things is that if you don't know how investigations work, you will continue to have these questions floating in your mind that can be easily debunked or easily reasoned with if you knew how this stuff works. Is it possible that they just made all this stuff up? It's possible, but it's not plausible.
Howie Mandel here. You wake up tired, you crash by noon, then can't sleep at night. Sound familiar? I think we can all relate. Shinergy Day gives you clean, lasting energy. No crash, no jitters, no nonsense. It's perfect for those long work days, intense workouts, or just trying to keep up with the kids. Shinergy Night helps you shut it all down. No melatonin fog, just real, restful sleep. If your mind won't stop and your body can't keep up, Shinergy is here to help. Use code Howie20 at ShinergyLife.com.
They don't have to make up a lie against a kid that didn't do it, because in the court of law, it will be found out very quickly, very swiftly, and the person who killed Charlie will be still out on the prowl. Your reputational damage will never be overcome if you are a person that is presenting false information. For what reason? There is no reason to lie. There is no reason to blow this case. In my opinion, based on everything I've seen, based on my investigatory experience and others who I know in this industry, FBI agents and also people who work in law enforcement, this is a cut and dry case. This is pretty cut and dry. I honestly believe, based on everything that I've known, and I've heard some birdies floating around, that the round matches the gun. And that's the end of there's no more open doors. The only open door in this case would have been if the round did not match the weapon that it was allegedly fired from. But if the round matched the weapon, it's case closed. DNA evidence on the gun, DNA evidence on the ammo, a spent casing in the gun belonging to the suspect's father or grandfather, the weapon identified by dad, the surveillance footage, the witness statements, the surveillance footage which was brought to the attention to law enforcement by dad and mom who identified their son on that camera. You got video of him in the area at the Dunkin' Donuts or Dairy Queen or wherever that place is. You got him in the area. That kid lived like 200 miles away from there. It's no reason for him to even be in the area. His presence in the area matches the statements in the text message, which alluded to the fact that he was waiting around to try to go get the gun. You got all of this evidence. You got circumstantial evidence. You got confessions. You got confessions for Lil Twigs and them. This is an open and shut case, to be honest. And if you actually read the affidavit, you will see they have geotracking on the phone. They got him searching on Google Maps. All this is electronic information that's brought into evidence that will be presented in the court of law and will be scrutinized by the defense. Every investigatory lead that the prosecution has that they consider evidence they submit to the court also has to be submitted to the defense team. And for those of you who have been following this, when he hired an actual defense team and not an appointed defense team, they said they needed prolonged time to go through and evaluate all of the evidence. And all of the evidence is pretty clear, if you ask me. And I would love for Candace Owens to have an opportunity to hear from people who are in the government to explain some of these things that she has questions about.